Hello everybody. Today we will look at section 1.7, linear inequalities and absolute value inequalities. First, let's take a look at interval notation. Now, whenever we have an open interval, AB, it represents the numbers between A and B. And it's read for all x, A is less than x, which is less than B, not including A and B. So whenever we use a parentheses, that means do not include the numbers by the parentheses. Then closed interval. A closed interval, AB, represents real numbers between A and B. So for all x, A is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to B. Whenever it's less than or equal to, we include those numbers by using a bracket. Infinity interval. Whenever we have A to infinity, it represents numbers that are greater than A. For all x that are greater than A, we do not include A because we're just using a greater than sign. But if we look at the infinity interval, negative infinity to B, it represents numbers less than or equal to B because it has a bracket. So for all x, which is less than or equal to B, we will use negative infinity to B and use the bracket. So whenever we use a bracket, we have a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal to sign. And whenever we use parentheses, we're using greater than or less than. Now let's take a look at solving a linear inequality. Now, when we multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number, the direction of the inequality symbol is reversed. So let's make sure that we keep that in mind when we are solving inequalities. So the first thing we're going to do is solve and graph the solution set on the number line. And we have the problem 3 minus 2x is less than or equal to 11. Now when you're solving an inequality, solve it as if that inequality sign is an equal sign. So the first thing we would do is subtract 3 on both sides. And we're left with negative 2x is less than 8. Next thing we do is divide negative 2. Now since we're dividing a negative 2, remember the rule at the top. It says if we multiply or divide both sides of the inequality by a negative number, the direction will change. So instead of writing less than or equal to, we will write x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Don't forget to draw your number line. And when we draw out our number line, we see that all the values that are greater than negative 4 are shaded to the right of negative 4. And so we're going to read this number line from left to right. And since we have the greater than or equal to sign, we use a bracket. And so it would be bracket negative 4, comma, and it's shooting all the way out to infinity. So the answer would be negative 4 to infinity. Now in the next problem, we're going to solve the linear inequality. And we have negative 2x minus 4 is greater than x plus 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the variables to the left side by subtracting x on both sides. And when we subtract x, we're left with negative 3x minus 4 is greater than 5. Now we add 4 to both sides of the equation, and we have negative 3x is greater than Now remember, we are dividing by a negative number. So we have to divide -3 on both sides. And remember, if you divide or multiply by a negative number, the sign flips. And we get x is less than -3. Now, don't forget to draw out your number line. And since it's less than -3, we shade everything to the left of -3. And it's a less than sign, so we use a parentheses. And so our answer, reading the number line from left to right, is going to be -infinity to -3. All right, so now we're going to look at solving a linear inequality involving fractions. Solve and graph the solution set on a number line. And we have x plus 3 divided by 4 is greater than or equal to x minus 2 divided by 3 plus 1/4. Now, whenever you're solving an inequality using fractions, remember, solve it the exact same way you would solve a regular equation. And the first thing we do is we have to get rid of those denominators. So to get rid of them, we need to find the least common denominator. And if we look at the denominators 4 and 3, we notice that the least common denominator is 12. We're going to take 12 and we're going to multiply it times each term, and we have 12 times x plus 3 divided by 4 is greater than or equal to 12 times x minus 2 divided by 3 plus 12 times 1/4. And notice I reduced each fraction. 4 goes into 12 3 times, 3 goes into 12 4 times, and 4 goes into 12 3 times. And so we're left with 3 times x plus 3 is greater than or equal to 4 times x minus 2 plus 3 times 1. When we distribute, we have 3x plus 9 is greater than or equal to 4x minus 8 plus 3. Combine like terms, that minus 8 and plus 3. And we have 3x plus 9 is greater than 4x minus 5. So, we're going to solve for x. And we are going to pull the 4x to the left side by subtracting 4x on both sides. We have -x plus 9 is greater than or equal to -5. And when we subtract 9 on both sides, we get -x is greater than or equal to -14. And remember, whenever we have to divide or multiply a negative number, the sign flips. And our final answer is x is less than or equal to 14. Now, don't forget to draw your number line. Numbers that are less than or equal to 14 are to the left. And since we have a less than or equal to sign, 14 gets a bracket. And we read this number line from left to right. So, all the way to the left, we have -infinity, and we stop at 14. Now let's look at when we have a compound inequality. Compound just means that we have two linear inequalities in the same problem. And whatever we do to the middle, we have to do it to both the left and the right. So notice the original problem is -3 is less than 2x plus 1, which is less than or equal to 3. So remember, we're trying to get x alone. And what we notice is we have a plus 1. So, to get rid of plus 1, we have to subtract 1. Not only to the middle, but to the left and the right side. And we're left with -4 is less than 2x, which is less than or equal to 2. Now, we have to get this x by itself. And that's why we divide 2 in the middle, but we also have to divide 2 on the left and the right side. And our final answer is negative 2x is less than x, which is less than or equal to 1. Now, to draw this on our number line, we are going to write negative 2 and positive 1. And since this is less than, negative 2 gets a parentheses. We have less than or equal to by the 1, so 1 gets a bracket. And remember, read it from left to right. And we have negative 2, comma 1. Now we have an absolute value inequality. Whenever we're solving the absolute value inequality, we want to solve for both the positive and the negative, okay? So when we rewrite it, it has to satisfy negative, which C, which is less than U, which is less than C. So when I rewrite this equation, we're solving for 3, but we also have to solve for negative 3. And when we rewrite it, we will write negative 3 is less than x minus 4, which is less than 3. Remember, we're solving for x, so let's do what's in the middle. We have a minus 4, so we're going to add 4 to all 3 in the middle, the left and the right. And we get 1 is less than x, which is less than 7. Now, since these are both less than signs, 1 gets a parentheses and 7 gets a parentheses. And when we read it from left to right, we have 1, 7.